Mic check, check. Hello. Hi, guys. Hi. Hey. Hope you got some good coffee. Ryan Hack in the back making the coffee. Give it up for him. Whoop, whoop. Wolf Camp Studios. I'm going to jump right in, guys. I know that it's what day is it? Tuesday? Wednesday morning. And I know that you guys probably have things to do and people to see, so we're going to jump right in. And I just first off want to say how grateful I am to get to be a part of this community, this growing community. I've had the fortune of getting to meet with a few people, and Josh Ritchie, the Hood Sisters, these guys here, talking about like, man, something needs to happen in Orange County, like more and more things. Like friends are starting creative agencies, friends are doing more amazing design work, friends are starting businesses. There's all this cool creative energy. How can we start to pull some of this together and let us like kind of put our foot down and say, hey, there's so many great resources and people around us. How can we start encouraging and gathering together and pushing each other forward so that we can make this community something that's like a force to be reckoned with a little bit? There's just so much good happening here. So with that, I'm going to start with a charge to all you guys. I got asked to share today, and as Aaron can attest to, I was like really slow to respond. He like texted me twice. He's like, can you do this? And it's like a busy time of year. There's so many things happening. And part of me was like, man, this is the last thing I need is like another thing to do right now. But when it came down to it, and like the reason for me sharing is twofold. One is like, I like want this to be a thing. I want Orange County, I want Costa Mesa, I want this community to grow. And the second thing is like, I want to play my role in it and help where I can, but like, I'm tagging you guys, like you're next. So just like be aware of that. Like I'm here to like share and offer whatever encouragement or inspiration I can today, but like you're on like the on deck. And so just get ready for that because we need you and we need you to be a part of it. So what I wanted to share about today is knowing who you are, the importance of that, and like how to do that. Like know who you are and like be good at that, essentially. First, I'll give a quick introduction just of myself. Some of you are probably like, I don't know you, and if I do know anything, you work at like a nonprofit. Like, what's the nonprofit guy doing here talking about like being creative or like, like nonprofits are boring, right? And to which I would say, yeah, a lot of times they are. We're trying to do things a little bit differently. So my name is Kohl Crecelius. I'm the CEO and co-founder of an organization called Crochet Kids International. We work in Uganda and Peru, empowering women to rise above poverty. We're a lifestyle brand, so we give women jobs in those two areas, as well as education and mentorship, so that them and their families can be equipped to take care of themselves independently forever and ever, amen. And we do that through the creation of products, hats like this, apparel, bags, all these other sorts of things. Every piece we make is hand-signed by the woman who made it, so that we can draw connections with our customer and these ladies abroad and help encourage them towards that end goal of empowerment. So that's what we are. When it comes to like how we've had to do a lot of what we do creatively, we are this really interesting like cross-section of a nonprofit organization and a for-profit organization. I always say that forever people would look at us and be like, are you a nonprofit or are you for-profit? Are you this or that? And to which we just say yes. Like we are both. Like we refuse to be defined and contained into these like preconceived ideas of like, oh, nonprofit does this, for-profit does X, and these buckets that people created. So we've had to be really creative in how we've gone about that, how we've told stories, like how we've funded the work that we've done, all of those things. And so I'm going to share a little bit about our story and how we've kind of got started. and really how we've got to where we are today. I mean, today, just as like a quick snapshot, there's 185 women working at both project locations in Uganda and Peru. Products that we make are sold domestically, Urban Outfitters, Whole Foods, Nordstrom stores, Zoomies, and then distributed internationally, mainly in Canada and Japan. Like, we've grown a lot. We've been around for 7 years, and I think one of the most important things to that whole process has been us defining at an early stage who we are, knowing who we are, especially because we were a little bit weird, and people asked us all the time, like, and wanted us to be in one box or another, and we had to know so clearly who we were, and I want to talk a little bit about that. But to do that, I want to share another story to kind of provide some context, a story that, you know, I think we'll all tie it together. So, have any of you guys heard of Trouble Coffee in San Francisco before? Anyone raise hands? So, Trouble Coffee, the full name is Trouble Coffee and Coconut Club. There was an article I read, my brother sent it to me maybe like 6 or 9 months ago. Maybe some of you, as I'm starting to tell this, like, you'll start to become familiar with this story. Is on This American Life. There was quite a bit of writing around it, but it's a toast story. That's literally the name of the article. The article focused on the founder and how this one woman had really started this toast craze in San Francisco. And I don't know if you guys have had toast recently at any of your coffee shops, but she founded toast, essentially. Her name's Julieta Corelli, and what was so cool about her story, and I'll just share a little bit of it with you, and then I'd encourage you guys to go and like read through the full thing because I think it's pretty fascinating. Here's a lady. She suffered with mental illness. She had I wrote down this mental illness, schizoaffective disorder, a condition which combines schizophrenia and bipolarity. So as you imagine, those are like two things gnarly in their own right. Together, you can only imagine like how intense that would be. So with that, had a really hard time keeping any consistent form of employment, had bouts of homelessness, couldn't really have strong ties or connections with people because because of that disorder, like just exhausted people. She just drained those resources. And that's like the low point. But as she started to build some consistencies in her life, as she started, like there was a few things that she started to do. She met this old guy on a beach in San Francisco, and she would go there every day because he was there every day. And she'd sit and she'd talk with him every single day, and she'd start to build these rhythms in her life. And then she joined this club. She started swimming in the ocean, like all year round with this like group of people. She was able to get a job, and she was able to keep that because of just the regulars that she got to know and the people that she started to connect with. And so it's this really cool, it's this start of this almost redemptive story. And I'm going to read just a little bit of the article for you guys. And I'll say this. So it says, she began assiduously cultivating a network of friends she could count on for help when she was in trouble, a word she uses frequently to refer to her psychotic episodes, while being careful not to overtax any individual's generosity. Side note, this is I don't have a PowerPoint or anything. This is very cereal-esque. I've been really into cereal, so this is like a podcast connecting things. My voice isn't as nice as Sarah Koenig's, I realize. Her gregariousness was in part a survival mechanism, as were her tattoos and her daily uniform of headscarves, torn jeans, and crop tops. The trick was to be identifiable. The more people who recognized her, the more she stood a chance of being able to recognize herself. Most of us dedicate the bulk of our attention to a handful of relationships. This is still reading from the article. With a significant other, children, parents, a few close friends, social scientists call these strong ties. But Corelli can't rely on such a small set of intimates. Strong ties have a weight strong ties have a history of failing her, of buckling under the weight of her illness. So she has adapted by forming as many relationships, as many weak ties as she possibly can. And this web of weak ties are what allow ideas to spread. So I don't know about you guys, and the article is really long, but by the end of it, when I got to this point, this story like hit me at my core. I was I found myself so much in Julietta's story, and I see so many of like us as like we are like Julietta Corelli. Like if we're honest with ourselves, like we're all a little bit crazy. We all have our crazy, right? Especially when we're starting projects or leading projects, like having to like constantly think outside the box and drain resources and tax people around us or relationships to get things accomplished. Bottom line, that's one thing. Like we are all a little bit crazy, and the question isn't like, oh, you're crazy and you're less crazy or I'm not crazy or whatever. But the question is like, how do we deal with our craziness, right? Like, how do we continue to push forward? And I think that obviously, like, I don't want to make light of like her mental illness or any of that. But the point being that like recognizing that that's like all of our struggle at some level, and figuring out like what it means to deal with that. So I have a few thoughts for you guys, just a couple, some of which I think you will enjoy. So to close, it's like there's kind of three things that I pulled out of Julietta's story, and things that I wanted to like just press into you guys and ask you to think about. And the first was this, like in that context, thinking about like the projects ahead, thinking about the things that you have to do to creatively like push yourself forward, is like asking yourself, what are the rhythms that you build into your life that serve as reminders for who you are? What I thought is so beautiful is like, she started like, she needed some sort of constant in her life. And I don't think that that's unique to her. I think that that's all of us. Like we need rhythms and things in our life that help remind us of who we are and why we do what we do. One thing for me, and I'll just share personal examples because that's what I have, but thinking about it for you is like, if any of you guys know me or see me at all, like I wear a hat every single day. If it's 85 degrees out, I'm wearing a hat. It's a little less weird being in Southern California because I can just be labeled as like, oh, hipster, like whatever, beard, yeah, like he just wears a beanie. But like that's not why. I'm not trying even really to make a fashion statement. For me, it was a question I used to get a lot, like talking about my work, like why I do what I do, all these things. And for a while, it was like I didn't have anything to show. But now when I wear a hat, it like both like poses questions. People are like, why are you wearing a hat? Or what do you do? I get to pull off this hat every single day, and I get to point at the signature of the lady who made this hat. I get to talk about Marie Luce in Peru and how her life is drastically different because of the work that we're doing. And that's like one constant thing for me that's like, it's in my face all the time. I put my hat on every day, and it's a reminder of like, this is why I do what I do. And that doesn't translate to all of you guys. Like the goal, of course, isn't like, man, I need to find a beanie that I can wear every day. Like, that's not what I'm getting at. If that's what you're hearing, you're way off. But what is it that you know? Like, what is it? Just maybe a tangible reminder that you can have every day that's like helping keeping your sights on your goals and what you want to accomplish. The second thing is this: is be known, share who you are and what you want to accomplish. Gather, form connections and relationships. Like that is so important. The most beautiful part of that story, in my opinion, is that she dressed the same. She went to the same grocery store, the same coffee shops, all of these things, because when she was recognized, she was able, she had a better chance of being able to recognize herself. And can't we all like relate with that on some level, right? Like we need people around us and we need to be in community with people so that when we're going crazy, like when we're out of our minds or when we're head deep in a project or when we have too much going on and like we're literally like going a little bit out of our minds, that we have people around us that can be like, that's not you. Like, come on. Yeah, this isn't you. You need to be you because I know who you are. I recognize you. And that's like kind of the mirror, I think, that gets put up in your face. And I think that that's so important. And isn't that a perfect plug for connecting things and doing this more, right? Like that's what we're trying to do. And I think that that other aspect that I said as well is share what you want to accomplish. Like when Crochet Kids was first starting, we literally told every single person we knew about it. Everyone, you know, a lot of it was we started because we knew how to crochet. And so when we had this idea to go to Uganda and teach women in Uganda how to crochet, we started crocheting our own hats. We would sell them to people. We would share this vision over and over and over and over and over again. And to the point where it's like so many people knew what we wanted to accomplish that the cat was out of the bag. And the question was like, how's that going? Oh, like, what's next? Like, have you taken any further steps? Are you, accomplishing that goal that you told me about? And I think that that's so important. Like, talk, get it out there. If you have something you want to do, say it. Tell people about it. And like today, like a really good exercise is telling somebody like a creative project or something that you want to do, something that you want to accomplish, and like hopefully come back to this another Wednesday morning and see them and ask them what they told you, or like be a part of a community that's like pushing each other forward. I think that's really important. That's like, I hinge so much of like us actually being able to like start what we started was because it was like, man, a lot of people are expecting us to do this. Like we put it out there, and then we started to employ women in the developing world, and then we were for sure not stopping, because we put those goals and things ahead of us, and then people were relying on us and asking us about it, and I think that that's huge. So have people around you to help remind you of who you are. The last thing that I want to end with is just near the end of this article, I mentioned Julietta met with this guy on the beach, this older gentleman who would just like ask her questions and like help her process through things. And one of the questions that he asked her was this. He said, "What is your useful skill in a tangible situation?" Simple, like. In a tangible situation, what is your useful skill? And I think that that's a question that I want to ask all of you guys is like, in any situation, what are you good at? And knowing that, like can you boil it down to like the most simple form, right? Like for Julietta, it was, she was good at coffee and she was good with people. She's like, I need to open a coffee shop. And I think that there would be a lot of strength in just the projects that you pursue and what you're doing if you could be really honest with what your tangible, what your useful skill was in a tangible situation. Like if you knew that, because it's not about being the hero, about like putting up this front and saying, hey, I am, a lot of other people maybe I have a few strengths, but I'm pretty much a really well-rounded individual. I can do almost anything. Like it's just not the case. And so in the context of our work at Crochet Kids International, a couple things. Like first was like we understood who we were as an organization, and that was really important. Like we wanted to focus on impact and creating product. But as a result, like since we weren't solely focused on creating product, we knew that like our growth wasn't going to be this hockey stick growth because we were caring for all these other things, and we had to understand and identify and know that like this is who we are, and we need to be good with that because there's going to be people, peers, companies, other things. That's like you look and you're like, man, they're growing so fast, or look at all that they're doing, and it's like you can't. I mean, comparison is the thief of joy, right? Like that's so true. And just knowing who you are is so important. Knowing what unique niche you fill. So as an organization, we had to understand that, and then as individuals or leadership within our organization, we had to understand that too. Like we do what we do because we have a really unique collection of people. Like I am good at storytelling and communicating. That's like what I bring to the table. But we luckily have a really great person who focuses on our impact on the ground. We have somebody who focuses on the operational side of our business. We have somebody who focuses on the sales side. So it's like it's only about the team players knowing their unique role and the unique way that they serve the organization or the team or the project. Like that's when the best work is going to happen. So knowing who you are, and I guess that's like the question that I just leave with you guys is that what is your useful skill in a tangible situation? Like how far can you boil that down to, and then how can you focus on that and understanding and knowing who you are? With that, I think that you're able to do better work, you're able to focus, and you're able to like build an understanding and connection points around you to help people remind you of that thing. So that's what I wanted to share this morning. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are questions. That's a thing, right? Like we can do that. And thank you guys so much for being here. So are there like any questions top of mind? It's not really like, I mean, I don't know if that is a talk that really like spreads like ideas or not ideas, but spreads like a lot of questions, but I'd love to answer any.
How did you as a brand start to market yourself towards Nordstrom or towards these companies? How did you go in like, hey, this is what we're starting?
Yeah, so I don't know if all you guys heard the question. It was how did we start to market and brand ourselves towards a company like Nordstrom when we were first starting? And to that, I would say that like we always were, in the sense that like that was always the goal. And so if that's the goal, and if you work your way backwards, you understand that by the time you have an opportunity to talk with somebody like Nordstrom, like they're gonna look at your, if I can borrow a phrase from here, they're going to look at your ties for your brand. What sort of other retailers are you in? How do those things line up with us? What does your website look like? Are you doing great like photography and branding and all those things? And like if you can consistently share the same picture of who you are and you're putting forth the brand that you want and that you feel like fits in a store like Nordstrom, then by the time you have that conversation, there's a pairing, right? Because it's like, oh, this brand, they know who they are, they know what they're doing. And of course, like, did we really know what we were doing? No. Like, fake it till you make it is like another one of the quotes like high up on my like life quotes. But like, emulation and creating a brand and doing all the things you need to do to like have that make sense. And so there's not like a formula to it. You have to like understand what that is for you. But it's doing all the foundational steps of building and creating a brand that people are engaging with. Yeah. Yeah.
So in your like 7 years with yourself and Crochet Kids, how long did it take yourself and I would say the brand to find yourself as you said, to really know what who you guys are?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of the things that I didn't really touch on is like mission, vision, value statements. You hear about that a lot and the importance of those things. It's an exercise and something that's like it's like, oh, that's for like the classroom. That's what I did in like business school, and business school equals boring. So I don't need to do that. But I would say that like we had a really clear picture right when we first got going. We didn't know about all the pieces, but what we did was like we set out with a mission statement, and it was to empower people to rise above poverty. It was that 7 years ago. It's that today. And there was a lot of things that that happened along the way that had us pause and have to go back to that and filter ideas, filter thoughts through that ultimate end goal. So I think that the short answer to your question is I think it's possible. I don't think that we're unique. I think if you put the time on the front end to really pause and think and say, instead of just jumping into a project and get going on it, what is the mission of this project? What do we want to accomplish? We may not know all the steps. We don't know how to get from A to B to C and so forth, but we need to put our foot down, put our stake, our flag in the ground, and say, this is us. This is who we want to be. And I think that that's one of the most important steps that you can do right out of the gates is to go through that process, take the time to do that so that you can establish who you are. And yeah, two things, you need to have, you need to let that be malleable enough. You need it to be big enough that it's not we would have been in a lot of trouble if we were we want to, empower women in Africa with crocheted hats. That was that would have just zoomed it in way too far. So giving yourself the room to breathe, and then also having opportunity and time to reevaluate that. Just because it's set once, you need to constantly go back to that. Does this still make sense for us? But it's important to have right out of the gates, I would say. Do you have a question?
So how did you find what was your intangible or your invaluable skills in this situation? Was it something where you kind of knew what it was, or was it something where you tested a lot of things? You're oh, not good at that, not a strength.
Totally. Yeah. So she said, how do you for me, how did I know what my kind of useful skill was in a tangible situation? You definitely, there's things that you're naturally drawn to. It's definitely don't discount those inclinations, those tendencies, because I believe that what you're passionate about and what you enjoy doing, you will do the best at. So that's one thing is lean into the things that you feel like you're gifted in, that community of people around you are you know what, this is something you're really good at. So that would lead to say that being in community, I would ask somebody, ask people that are close to you, ask some of those strong ties, what outsider looking in, what do you feel like I'm good at? That's totally cool. It doesn't have to be this prideful conversation hey Darren, tell me everything you think I'm good at. And just let me feel really great about myself for a little bit. So the realities of it, I am no stranger to the fact that there are things that you're really great at and that you have tendencies and inclinations to do really well at. When you're starting projects, you're looking across the table and there's one other person, and you're okay, so we have to do some things we're good at, and we have to do a lot of things we're really bad at. And that's how it is. But it's not about, and that's just the reality of the situation. And as you start to just work in your craft and what you do, I think you start to understand more and more who you are and what you are really good at. And then if you have the opportunity, which I feel like any of you really do, is building the future of where you want to be spending more of your time, through hires, through projects, through what things you take on, all of those other things start to help put yourself in a position that you're doing what you're best at. And the other thing is you can't feel bad about that. And I've definitely gone through that. It's yeah, it's it's really easy for me to be I'm not great at scheduling and planning and being organized. And then that's easy to say on the flip side, yeah, that's because you're lazy and not good, or not good at this or that. And I'm I've had to get over that to the point of no, I need to realistically, I need to build people who do have strengths in those areas. And right now I have to do it. I have to just, grind it out. I'm not good at it. I need to like do that well. But yeah, I think that it's like, it's taking current inventory and then looking toward the future of like, what could that look like? Like, let yourself go there and say, if I could be doing that, what is that? And then how could I start to build in even really small steps to like getting there? And maybe one more question.
Sort of a
Bryn.
follow-up to that one.
Yeah.
In terms of, I know your story. So like starting out with a bunch of friends, and then obviously you sort of became the chief. You know, like delegating in terms of roles and then hiring, because people are employees or growing companies. What have you learned in that process of building a team and then doing that well?
Yeah, totally. A lot, and I still have a lot to learn. Is that enough? A couple things. I think it like ultimately, honestly, it comes back to like knowing who you are and for other people to like really encourage and help them understand and know who they are. I think that there's no secret that some people like take on projects or start doing things because they think they're good at it and they're not. And helping them understand and realize that in like a loving way is big. Like, but there's like really, really great tools, like a very tangible thing. And this again might sound like, oh, we're in a creative morning, like this is like a creative space, and I'm going to talk about, just like really practical things. Hopefully that's okay. But it's this, like we did StrengthsFinder test, like, and it is such a rad tool to say objectively, in some senses, like put that forward and say, wow, how do these strengths match up with what you're doing? And through that process, we found, and collectively, it wasn't like you look at the person next to you and be like, wow, your strengths are terrible for your job. That's not the case, but like that you realize that, and then people realize that. Like we've had people that have been like, oh wow, like I've never really thought about it this way. Like my strengths don't really fit into exactly what I'm doing, and in some cases, like it was maybe what they were doing was more of a struggle for them. It was harder, and so then it's like more of like a conversation of like, yeah, well let's talk about this then. Like if this isn't your strength, maybe if like this really isn't your passion, like is there something else that is, or is this even the best position for you? So I guess that's just like one really tangible thing that is like helping people understand helping people understand who they are, and figuring out steps and conversations or simple tools you can do to like do that. Then it also gives you a clearer picture in a more objective way of saying, hey, like, let's lean into these things, how can we help you lean into these things? And that's been really important for us, and even really freeing, like for anyone involved, like even myself, like being able to look at those and be like, wow, like these are my strengths, I should be leaning into these, like why not? So yeah, that's one way it's been really helpful for us. Cool, guys. Well, I know that you're busy people, and I just want to close by saying thank you again so much for coming. Hopefully there's like some bit of insight or some takeaway there that you can think about, just like process through. We could probably put it on the connectingthings.co website. There's one of those. And there's Instagram and all the other social media, so find it through that website. But a link to that article I was talking about today, there's probably more things to like unpack. If that story, like I'm like absolutely fascinated by stories of how things come to be, and so if that story of toast is one that is interesting to you, I'd encourage you to read that. The story of Crochet Kids International is interesting to you, I'd encourage you to check it out more on our website, crochetkids.org. Follow us on all the social medias, the Facebook and Instagrams and all that. So thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day.